Hello and welcome to episode 150 of Controller Club, the friendly face gaming space, a podcast where three friends from three continents share in one love, and that is video games. On today's show, it's not technically episode 150, that was technically like a couple episodes ago, but we're doing a bonus episode because we didn't get to celebrate. We are doing a special listener mailbag to celebrate 150 episodes of Controller Club. My name is Klein Felt. And alongside me today, as always, are two of my best friends in the whole wide gaming world. First, coming to us from across the pond, it is the digital art daredevil himself, the void to my century, Tom Drew. Tom, how are you? How are things? And what's going on?
Yeah, hopefully if I'm the void, I'm not too depressing. At least, especially not this episode. But yeah, I'm excited. This is kind of a crazy milestone. I'm glad we're carving out of time in the schedule to celebrate this. We have some questions we're going to talk about. Obviously, I haven't seen a lot of them. I kind of tried to go in blind, so you're going to get a lot of raw reactions from me at least. So I'm excited to see what people have said and sent us in.
Next up, it is journalist extraordinaire, the Australian abroad slash the Canadian in training, Lauren Rouse. Lauren, are you employing the same strategy as Tom here? Have you looked at any of the questions yet?
Um, Maybe. I like to be prepared.
Okay.
So I've had a small peek, but I think most of it will still be off the cuff. So look forward to that this episode.
Okay, there's one. Most of them are very video game related, but there's one particular off-topic one that I'm very interested in exploring with the two of you later today. So we'll get into that right now. But before we do all of that, before we get into episode 150, this is usually the time every 50 episodes or so when we do a bit of navel gazing. We look back at the previous 50 episodes. We look back at this crazy journey that we've been on. Now, what did we just celebrate? 3 years of podcasting together, which is absolutely crazy to me. And so I think we can maybe do a bit of reflection before we actually get into the Q&A segment of the show. And I want to ask the two of you, as we come to episode 150, what do you think to you 150 episodes of Controller Club means to you? And maybe what are some of your favorite moments from the last 50 episodes? Because we did this just about a year ago for episode 100. Lauren, what has this journey to you meant so far? And do you have any favorite moments of the last 50?
I mean, it's crazy to think how much the podcast has become a part of my life because it's really one of the only constant things I've had over the last 3 years. When my job has changed, I've moved cities, I've moved countries, all these things have happened. And yet every week I know I get to come here and just talk about video games with you guys. And it's a space to just be safe and, unwind and get our thoughts out in the open. So that's like, yeah, it's become a really special thing, this podcast. And I think really the last 50 episodes, I think have probably been our best. We've come such a long way. Even, we've had our first developer interview with our friends at Copycat. We've done like TV show reviews, which have given us like the biggest numbers ever. And we've all met in person, which is crazy. In the last, which we hadn't done 50 episodes ago, we've actually all been in the same room, in the same country, multiple times. I've seen you both multiple times over the last year. So that's just been, I think it's been the most special 50 episodes yet for me.
Tom, what do you think? Is the last 50, have we peaked here? Are we going to go down now as
Mm,
we round the corner to 200? Is this it? Is this
yeah.
when you announce your retirement from podcasting
Oh,
entirely?
God. Yeah, guys, prepare for the steep decline. We're about to fall off hard. No, I think this is really great. I basically just echo everything that Lauren said. Like, it's so nice that we get to basically just fall back on this thing that we can do every week. Like, I don't really get a chance to talk about like gaming news, games that I've been playing with like people in my regular life because they're not like gamers like we are. So it's just nice to be able to like feel this kind of like coming home sort of feeling, getting to talk to you guys about stuff, and it's just like such a special thing. And like it's amazing that people listen, obviously, and I'm so appreciative of that. But like I feel like we would just do this anyway, and then it's I think that's really cool. But yeah, I think like the biggest takeaway for me, obviously, like meeting up was amazing. But like also moving into video and like YouTube and seeing like some of the success we've done there. Again, like obviously we'd still put out stuff if no one was watching it, but the when the stuff does quote unquote blow up and get some attention and we hear from people and their kind of thoughts on things like the Silent Hill video, like the kind of like the Marvel Rivals video that did pretty well, or like the Arcane episodes, like Lauren mentioned, did decently well, and we heard from people. It's just really nice to feel like there is kind of sense of community and a little bit of light in the world when there is so much darkness around us. So yeah, it is very special to be here. These last 50 episodes have been amazing, and yeah, another 50 more up ahead.
Yeah, it's been crazy 3 years of podcasting with the two of you. I think that to say exactly what Tom just said, I echo the sentiments of both of you here. Like it's been so special to do this each and every week. Every weekend we sit down, we discuss the latest in gaming, we review things, we look at movies, we play fun games, and it has been just like this beautiful constant in all of our lives. Really, since I guess 2022, which is absolutely wild to me. I think that the last 50 episodes in particular have been a lot of fun because I don't want to say it took us 100 episodes to kind of figure out what this show is, but it kind of did. And then when we hit that 100, we really started to ask, like, what can we do? How can we play with this formula a little bit? How can we expand? And that's when we started looking at video. I think for me, like the most exciting stuff that we've done has really come in the last like really 25 episodes or so, where it's like, let's really start leaning into trying to bring on more guests, and doing that developer interview with Copycat late last year was so much fun. And then one of my favorite things that I think Controller Club has done and is going to continue to do is doing the live stream stuff that we really started to venture into late last year with the Game Awards, and then we've picked it up this year with the Switch 2 reveal and all the state of plays, and we'll be doing a lot more of that as we get into Summer Game Fest season, and there's PlayStation presentations and Switch 2 release and things like that. And I think those have been a lot of fun to kind of expand and get in front of eyes and ears that we hadn't necessarily been before. So I think the last 50 have been absolutely our best. I have a feeling the next 50 will be even better than that. I'm so happy that I get to do this with the two of you. You guys both mean so much to me, and I'm just can't believe it. 150 episodes. It's absolutely crazy. I still, my like probably favorite moment of this whole journey so far is the fact that we all traveled across the world to be in the same place and be at Tom's house. And yeah, we didn't necessarily make content out of that. And we had a great story episode that you can go back and listen to, our London travel stories. But just the fact that we were all sitting in a living room, just like having these sort of conversations that we do behind the microphones every week, just off the cuff and for no reason other than the fact that we were just all there. This is just so cool. Like,
I like to call that like the Controller Club retreat. You know how like Marvel Studios goes off grid and like plans the MCU for future? That was our retreat where we was bonding time that's necessary for the cause.
It definitely, the chemistry grew even deeper after we'd all kind of been in the same room. The next question I want to ask the two of you is, do you have any favorite games that we've played for the show, that we talked about on the show over the last 50 episodes or so? To put it in context, about 50 episodes ago, the big thing we played right at that 100 episode mark was Helldivers 2. It was right around there. So basically since then, Tom, anything stand out for you in your mind?
Well, it's one of Lauren's favorite games. I think like one that I keep coming back to is Sly Cooper or Sly Raccoon. I just think about that game quite a lot, and I'm excited to play more of it. It's just like I didn't know that I needed this cell shaded stealth platformer game in my life. It's so cool, and I don't think I mentioned it last week when I talked about the PlayStation concert, but like Sly, he didn't get like a musical number or anything, but he did make some cameos in like the visuals of the concert and stuff. So I'm like, they haven't forgotten about him. They haven't forgotten about him. Maybe he'll come back. So yeah, I think Sly is probably the standout for me from last year, or the last 50 episodes.
I think I get a shout out Sly as well. Getting to explore each of your gaming tastes and see kind of the games that made you guys gamers to get to this point has been a lot of fun. And I think Sly last year was just a great example of that, and getting to see that game for the first time and go, oh, like this is, I can see how Lauren gets to the person that she is now based on being obsessed over this raccoon. The other game that I will shout out is a fun one you can go back and listen to. We did a bonus episode for this, was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was a big game for us at the end or beginning of last year, and getting to do a spoiler cast with you, Tom, and our friend Brad Shankar from Mobile Syrup, and getting to dive into all of. He's an expert on that universe, so jumping into all the spoilers and theories and where it's going to go the next time. We talked for like almost 2 hours. I remember looking at that document that day and thinking, there's no way we get to an hour on this. Like there was barely any bullet points on the doc we had set up. And we just talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. And I think that's just like, I'd like to do more of those as kind of big games come out, maybe like a post-mortem on some of these bigger games and do like these big spoiler cast, deep dive breakdowns of like, where do we think this is going to go next, and why do we think that this happened, and stuff like that. Lauren, what about you? Last 50 episodes, it can't be Sly as well.
Well,
we both said
Maybe it
it's
is.
Sly.
not. It's not, but I did really enjoy that you two got to play it and liked it. That was like very gratifying for me. I'll point out that Helldivers 2, which was I think just before the last 50 episodes, I'm still playing. So like that's a testament to that game that's really stuck with me. In terms of like a new game plus that we all played together, I think Cult of the Lamb was the one that surprised me the most. It just like got its hooks in me so much more than I was expecting, and I've had to like hide my Switch so that I don't keep playing it because I just got really into it. And that was like an Aussie game that had been on my list for so long. So it's really great that our new game pluses aren't always like the newest games that have come out. Sometimes we go back into the back catalog, and I think that's really great because you'll discover things that you might have missed, which is why we did a whole hindsight section. Balatro, another good game that I enjoyed. And then I think probably the major standout, because I didn't play that many new games last year, but Astrobot just was incredible.
Yeah.
What a game. Like I could play that from the beginning any day of the week, except I just don't have time. So glad that that was like just lived up to all expectations, exceeded all expectations, really. It's a miracle of a game.
The last question I'll ask the two of you before we get into the Q&As from the listeners is, what hopes and plans, what dreams, what do you want to see in the next 50, 100, 150 episodes? Where do you want to take Controller Club as we kind of venture forth into the great beyond? I think for me, the number one thing, and I was hoping it was going to happen this year, I don't think it's going to, because international travel right now between Canada and the US is just the absolute worst. But I want to do some sort of event on behalf of Controller Club, whether that's going to PAX, whether that's like pie in the sky, going to the Game Awards, Summer Game Fest, something. I like to go to some sort of gaming event for like on behalf of the podcast as we move forward. But what about you two? Lauren, anything come to mind?
Yeah, I think I want that too, definitely, to be able to get more into the space as, I guess, like an accredited kind of source of information versus just like, we are always going to be fans first of gaming, and this is like a friendly space and we just do it because we love it. But it would be cool to be able to get a bit more inside the industry, whether that is getting some review codes that we get ahead of time so we can have content like ready for it to go, or whether it's like more interviews with developers. That's definitely something that I want to push for in the next year, to get more people to talk about games that they've made on the podcast. And I also want to see you two more. So watch out, because we've proven there's no flights that can keep me away.
Maybe in the next 7 days or so, Lauren and I might be hanging out. So that's coming up. PR, if there's anyone from PR, developer, publishing, anything, if you're listening right now and you do want to get us on a review list, on a news list, anything, the email is controllerclubpod@gmail.com. I think we should do a bit better job of like pushing that to get on these sort of lists to take this next step. Because I agree with you, Lauren. I think that is kind of the next venture, the next part of this that we will like slowly start to creep into. Tom, what about you? What are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean both of those, because like the things you guys said, because like I've been to a lot of conventions but never like a dedicated gaming one, and to go to like something like a PAX or whatever, I think would just be incredible. And if it was with both of you guys, I think it would be so much fun. So maybe that's an off-air conversation we can have and talk about a bit more. But the big thing for me, I think, these next 50 episodes is trying to push even more so on the video front. You know, I've tried to keep it like consistent in terms of like getting the video podcast out and that sort of thing, and sometimes like little highlights from like podcast episodes. But what I really like doing is those kind of highly edited like just I don't even know how to describe it. Just like like highly edited versions of those segments and making them really polished and little jokes and graphics and all this sort of stuff. They just take quite a lot of time. And when I start one, I get very invested. And I'm basically just a gremlin, and I want to finish it. So it's hard to get like in that mode. But hopefully, I can do that a little bit more because I do have ideas of like segments we can turn into those sorts of things. And we've seen success with them, and like people seem to like them. So hopefully, a bit more of that. I think that's my big goal for the next 50.
So what you're saying, Tom, is viral fame. Here we come. It's going to
Exactly.
happen on behalf of Tom
Mr.
Drew.
Beast, watch out. That's all I'm saying.
Honestly, though, Tom, you have been the MVP with the video over the last 50 episodes. We wouldn't have this without you. So thanks for being the key player. Also, one more thing for the future, I want to maybe tease out, but new theme music.
Yeah, that's true.
Would love that.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Would love that. That royalty-free, just free music we've been using. There's a little peek behind the curtain. I'm ready for something a little more bespoke. Yeah, we're cooking. We got that coming. So let's do it. Let's jump into the questions from the listeners. We put out the call. We were supposed to do this a couple of weeks ago. Scheduling things happen. Boom, boom, boom. Here we are. But we've got a bunch of questions we're going to jump into from over on YouTube, Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. We got a decent collection, so we'll run through them. We'll go for, I don't know, let's say about an hour. Hopefully we get through to all of them, and then that'll be the episode 150 bonus pod. So let's jump into it. We'll start. I'll read the first question, and we can throw it around for the other questions to each of us. But I want to start. This is a great question that I saw come in. I was like, we have to start the podcast with this. This comes from Jamie Videos over on our YouTube channel, and they asked, as a newer listener, how did you guys come up with the podcast? This is a fun question to me because it has been 150 episodes. A lot of times think, oh, people know kind of where we came from because they've been listening, but it has been almost 3 years. We have picked up listeners over time. When we did Arcane last year, we saw a big spike in listeners. We're doing Last of Us right now. We see a big spike in listeners. So there are new people listening and watching and seeing our faces and hearing our voices. So I don't know, Tom, I think that you're kind of the origin. You're kind of the catalyst to this whole thing. So you can start. How did we come up with the podcast? Where did this come from?
Yeah, I'm sort of the Nick Fury of Controller Club, I guess, because I
True.
assembled this group of Avengers. Yeah, I guess like for context, all of us work at thedirect.com. It's like a movie news website, and we all do stuff there. And like, yeah, around going back even like probably 4
take it all the way back.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago at this point. I can't remember if it was 2020 or 2021. There was kind of an idea of maybe doing some like gaming related podcasts at the Direct. So Lauren and I were playing around with some stuff. We I think recorded some early like test things, but it never really went anywhere.
They will never see the light of day.
Yeah, that's probably like the best because I don't think that stuff. 150 episodes we've kind of got this mostly down to a formula, but back then it was rough. But yeah, it just kind of we wanted to do something, but it never really amounted to anything. And then Klein, I think like a couple months or like several months like after that, Klein reached out to me and was like, hey, I really want to do like a gaming podcast type thing. Would you be interested in this? And I was like, yeah, like I think that'd be really cool. I tried to do this thing with Lauren, and I think like it had the semblance of something that could be cool. Like, do you think it'd be cool if we bring her on as well? And like Klein's like, sure. And yeah, initially we, I guess, brought this to the Direct and like, do you want to make this like an affiliated thing? And they were like, yeah, like politely, like they were like, no, you guys can do your own thing, sort of thing. So, and I think that's for the best, like we've kind of like carved this into our own thing. But then, kind of we just decided to start Controller Club. We took a long time to kind of workshop a name, I think, because there was a lot of ideating on that front. But yeah, because like it's weird because back then we were obviously aware of each other. Like we had played like games, like Among Us games together. So I think we got like a semblance of who each other were, but it was like really through the podcast that we got to know each other properly, which I think was really like scary in some ways, but also like a lot of fun. And we really built that camaraderie and built this friendship with this podcast. So That's kind of like my memory. I don't know if there's anything you guys want to fill in on any of that, but that's how I kind of remember it.
I don't really have anything more to add. Lauren, was there anything from the old days, the origin story that Tom missed?
No, that's pretty much how it happened. Yeah, I remember that the site was perhaps moving into gaming, and then that didn't really take off. So we kind of just let the podcast kind of die. But then, yeah, Klein, you just came in as a thing with being like, I want to do this whether it's affiliated or not. And that's kind of, I think, the kick that we needed. And
Yeah.
it formed this thing. And yeah, it's just such a also like and you can go back, maybe don't, but go back and listen to those early episodes. But we didn't know each other, which is crazy. And now it's like I spent Christmas with Klein's family, and it's like Tom and I just hung out and went to the West End and met Brie Larson. Like, these things we now just do together, which are crazy. And I couldn't think of other people I'd want to do that with. So, if you're out there thinking about starting a podcast, maybe it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that when we started the podcast, the little like rigmarole that we have at the top of the pod every week, the like 3 friends from 3 different continents and like my 2 best friends in the whole wide gaming world, at the time were just kind of words and have very much become like very true, which is really
Yeah.
cool because like as the 2 of you said, I knew Tom a little bit through the direct just because we talked about games here and there, but not too deeply. All I knew about Lauren was that she was Australian, and the few times I had seen her, it was usually really early in the morning playing some like Jackbox Party Pack game as a bonding experience for the direct. And I will have you know that I don't know if I've ever said this on the pod, but for the first year almost of the podcast, like maybe the first 50 episodes, I didn't know if Lauren liked either of us because we talked to Lauren at like 5:45 in the morning on a Monday morning. If you haven't been here the whole time, we used to do this from 3 different time zones. Tom is usually late. It's afternoon here, and because Lauren was in Australia, Lauren would get up before work on a Monday morning at like 6 to do this podcast, and because of that, she was always very tired. And I thought
I
it
thought I
I
did
thought
such
it
a
was
good
like
job of hiding it.
I thought it was that she did like us, but turns out she does. Otherwise she wouldn't be here anymore. But I remember those early days so fondly, but also I'm so happy that we're here now.
Yeah. It really worked out. It was kind of this weird alchemy that somehow really came together, and like I'm glad it worked out because it's look at us now. Look at us now. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I can't stress enough how difficult doing 3 time zones is. It's
Yeah.
actually insane that we got through 150 or maybe like, I don't know, 120. When did I move? In like that format, because
Yeah.
that's just so difficult even for like full on like businesses to do when they're working globally. And yet we try and make this podcast work. And it was all for the better for it. But yeah, all I knew about you, Klein, at the beginning was like, oh, he's a Canadian. And then I was like, and I'm thinking about moving to Canada. And look what happened.
Here we are. You spent Christmas with my family.
Yeah.
So wild.
Okay. Tom, do you want to take the next question? This is a fun one.
Yeah, sure. So this comes from Thomas M on Twitter, and they say, you guys have talked about books, movies, and podcasts centered around games without being games themselves in the past. So I wanted to know if you had any other recommendations of video game related media that you enjoy beyond the games themselves. I am still
Question.
thinking about this, so I'm still going off the dome. Klein, is there anything that instantly springs to mind from this?
Well, I mean, other than Controller Club, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been like, for me, this instantly, there's books I've read for sure. Any of the Jason Schreier books, there's 3 of them now, are absolutely fantastic. Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. And then I'm forgetting the other 2's names. The recent one's all about the history of Blizzard, which was just like, I just finished that. It's great. Jordan Miner, who is a great video game journalist, put out a book, I think last year, I read it last year, called Game of the Year. And it goes through year by year, basically, I think since like 1979, and picks a game that like defines that year and has a little blurb about it. I thought that was fantastic. But like, for me, the stuff around gaming is like the reason I love this. And so video game podcasts are why I do what I do, why I ultimately went to broadcasting school to go into radio, and how I ended up at the direct. And so like anything from IGN Game Scoop, Podcast Beyond is what really like got me started, oh my gosh, almost 15 years ago now. The kind of funny stuff, so Kind of Funny Games cast, Kind of Funny Games Daily. And a new addition to my rotation, I guess in the last couple of years, that I will quickly shout out is Simon Parkin, who is from good old London town. Tom, you guys should go get a spot of tea. Is a former video games journalist. He used to write for, I think it was Eurogamer, and now he covers a lot of stuff. He has a podcast called My Perfect Console. Comes out every week, every Tuesday, and he has a different celebrity, whether it be he's had like the band Churches on, who you might know, but he's also had like very famous like video game creators and people who just like love games, and they basically tell their life story through 5 video games. And so they pick 5 games that would be on their perfect video game console and kind of use them as like landmarks. It's amazing podcasting. I have reached out to Simon personally to say like, this is one of the best podcasts on the internet right now. And if you like games, it is very much the whole like letterbox for favorites thing, but for games. And you get to learn about like these really cool people as well. So those would be what I recommend. Yeah. I guess also the Psych Odyssey. Go watch Psych Odyssey. That's like one of the best video game documentaries you could ever see, but that's all I got.
Okay. Lauren, have you any thoughts, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, I think I don't read too many books about the gaming industry. I probably should, and we'll read Jason Schreier's at some point. I think in terms of video game podcasts that I listen to that aren't ours, there's one called the AIAS Game Maker's Notebook, which is the AIS is the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences, and they do a lot of these great in-depth interviews with developers of some of the latest games. So they've done recently one with the Arrowhead's Johan Pilstead about Helldivers 2. So I really enjoyed that one, and they just get really deep into all these like kind of recent games and who made them and what the origin is behind them, what the intention was behind them, any challenges that they came up against. So I find that to be quite an interesting listen. And then apart from that, this is going to sound silly, neither of these things run anymore, but during the pandemic, I was really into Gary Whitta's stuff, and he did 2 YouTube series or like online series where he would play games and interview people while they did it. So one was called Animal Talking, which was a talk show hosted in Animal Crossing, and he would get like all these great celebrities. Brie was on it, Danny Trejo was on it, like anyone who was playing Animal Crossing, they would just invite them in, and like Gary had like a I guess a talk show set up in his house. And I was like, this is so silly, but so fun. So I loved that. And they also did one, this is what got me into Fall Guys, was, what was it called? Talk Guys, I think it was. And they would play, do interviews while they were playing Fall Guys. So as you can imagine, you're quite distracted in a game like Fall Guys. So you got quite interesting answers. And at the beginning, they were interviewing people who had worked on Fall Guys. And I was just so into that game. I was like, whenever the creator of the game got griefed and like kicked off the edge, I was like, well, that's karma. So I really enjoyed that. It was really fun. But yeah, those are things that I guess weren't games beforehand. But in terms of media, in addition to games, I really like both of Naughty Dog's documentaries about making The Last of Us. I think those are really insightful. And I wish that more games got those. Like I wish that was like a behind the scenes thing that every single game got, just to see how it came to be. But I know there's not a lot of money for that out in the world.
Yeah, Animal Talking was one of my favorites during the pandemic. I remember, like, I think T-Pain went on an episode at one point, and he was just insane. Like, he just went off the wall, and it was hilarious. Yeah, I think, similar to you, Lauren, I haven't had the chance to read Jason Schreier's books. Yeah, I have his Blizzard book. I just haven't given it a read yet, but I will do at some point. But yeah, the big, like, I've kind of come away from a lot of like gaming podcasts in recent years, but there are some I kind of do keep up with. One of them is Inside Games, which is a it's more of like a news YouTube channel, but they also have like a podcast. It's run by Bruce Green and Lawrence Sontag from the channel Funhouse. If anyone's familiar with that, which was kind of like this variety gaming YouTube channel, and those two have kind of splintered and done their own kind of YouTube channel focused on gaming news. And it's just really good. Like they do really like just honest commentary on gaming news, and I think like they are just some of the most insightful people on talking about these games that I found, and I really like hearing their thoughts and stuff. Another one is Good Vibes Gaming. And from their name, they're just like friendly blokes talking about games. Mostly focused on Nintendo stuff. And they've done a lot of Switch 2 coverage. So if you're interested in Switch 2, there's so much content from them that they've done, both in podcast form and video form. So definitely check them out. And the last one is another Nintendo focused one, Nintendo Life, who have a website, but they also have a YouTube channel, and they're based in the UK, so I have to shout them out, obviously. But yeah, they do a lot of great, similar to Good Vibes Gaming, they do a lot of great news content, but they also have a lot of podcast format stuff, but also like just really long, deep discussions. So if you come off like a Nintendo Direct, for example, they'll have a discussion on it, and I always love doing that after a live stream of some kind of gaming news event or whatever. I love hearing people's thoughts. So that's my kind of go-to, especially with Nintendo Directs, to go into Nintendo Life. So yeah, those are the kind of things that I consume surrounding games.
Lauren, do you want to take the next question?
Yes. Okay.
It's funny that
next
you're the one reading this.
Yeah. Our next question comes from our friend David Thompson from the Direct on Twitter, who writes, what should the next 3D Mario game be? An Odyssey sequel, Galaxy 3, or something entirely new? I'm not even going to answer, and I'm just going to let you two take it away because I have no opinions.
Yeah.
Tom, do you have... I think my answer to this question, I'd love and like an Odyssey sequel would be great. I'd love Galaxy 3, but I think the best thing about Mario is that you don't know. You never know. And so I'm don't really have any hopes and dreams for it. I just hope it's as magical and innovative as the franchise has proven to be since it began.
Yeah, I think to me, like seeing things from Donkey Kong Bonanza, that to me feels like, at least from all the footage we've seen, feels like the most natural extension of Odyssey. So almost inclined. I would have loved an Odyssey sequel, but I'm almost inclined to just like want something completely different now, because we are kind of getting an Odyssey 2 through Donkey Kong. So yeah, I'm kind of in that camp as well. I'd love to see something just completely off the wall. I think the ideal game for me, like Pie in the Sky thing, would be this kind of marriage between, and Odyssey does this a little bit, is like a marriage between 3D and 2D, almost like a Sonic Generations sort of thing, but with Mario. Just like combining that old era of Mario with the 2D. Well, they do still do 2D stuff, obviously, but like the older stuff with the kind of more modern 3D gameplay style. So something like that, I think, would be really cool. But yeah, I'm always just excited to see like them do something completely crazy and random, and maybe it's Super Mario 128 and it's a Super Mario 64 sequel. I don't know. Like they could do anything, and I would eat it up. So yeah, I'm ready for them to surprise me.
It's gonna come soon. Thank you so much for listening and being a fan and being a good friend, David. David hosts the Star Wars podcast I'm also on called Reckless Rebellion every once in a while. So we got to have him on sometime, maybe for one of these video game movie things, because he is the box office. That is his nickname. So get him on here and see what he has to say about gaming movies and all that. Okay, this next question comes from another good friend of the podcast, Ryan Cortero, who comments on YouTube all the time. You can read his work over at Collider and Agents of Phantom. He says, what video game made you fall in love with games?
It's a nice question.
Lauren, you didn't get to answer the last one because not the most Mario inclined person in the world. So what video game made you fall in love with games?
I think it's probably the first, or one of the first games that I played, and it's probably pretty obvious, but Crash Bandicoot, the second one specifically. The game that I played on the PS1 in my grandparents' basement since I was like 5, 6, and continue to enjoy to this day. I don't even know if did I even finish it, because it was so, as a kid, those games
Probably
are
not.
so difficult.
It's really hard.
Yeah. I remember like getting my dad to go on the internet, which was a new thing, and like look up cheat codes for this game so that I knew where all the hidden gems were. I was just obsessed and always looked forward to obviously seeing my grandparents, but going there and playing their PlayStation as well, because I'd get to see Crash Bandicoot again. So yeah, that was definitely the origin point for me.
Tom?
Yeah, the one that instantly jumped to my mind was Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, which was like the first Pokemon game I ever played. It's not like a traditional one; it's more like you're playing as the Pokemon, and it's almost like a roguelike sort of thing where you're going in these dungeons and they're randomly generated. Um, but it just that game sticks to my mind because I was so obsessed with it. But it was also I think the first time in a game that I was so attached to like a story. I haven't gone back to that game in like since I played it for the
It's on
first time.
NSO.
Yeah, so I should return to it and play it again. But I basically 100%ed it. I think for the most part, and it's a difficult game. But the story for that game is surprisingly really emotional. You really feel this bond between you're basically playing these like as these two Pokemon in a rescue team who rescue Pokemon who kind of going on adventures and like who have like gone missing or like getting lost or whatever. But the bond between you and your partner Pokemon is so strong, and there are some twists and turns, and it gets really like sad towards the end of the game, and you're just playing as little Pokemon guys. So that I think really blossom my love for like being able to tell like a really compelling narrative in a story, and obviously that like extends to now loving games like The Last of Us or God of War or all those sorts of stuff. So and Pokemon obviously, like I love Pokemon, so that really blossomed that love too. So yeah, that is definitely like the origin point for me, I think.
For me, I've talked about this game many times on the podcast. Not in a little bit though. It's Sonic the Hedgehog 2. We had a secondhand Sega Genesis in the basement growing up before we got the GameCube. We had 3 games: Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and an NHL of from the 90s. And playing Sonic the Hedgehog 2 specifically because it also had Tails. I like the first game, but like the second one, I'm like, man, he's got a friend. One of my sisters can come and play, and they can play as Tails. And just getting to control such a colorful and attitude filled character as a 5 or 6 year old on TV like blew my mind. It was like I'd been watching cartoons and seeing all these moving pictures on TV, but actually getting to like sit there and be able to control it and be able to move this character around. And when I told him to go forward, he'd go forward. And when I told him to jump, he'd jump. It's just like I remember it being absolutely crazy. So we'd sit down there for hours playing Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And then yeah, from there it was like Game Boy, get a Pokemon game. Once the Pokemon game was in my hands, I was never leaving this hobby behind. it was here for life. So yeah, I think that's kind of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Man, that game's still so good. Okay, Tom, you're next with the next question.
Yeah. So this comes from Sir Buffalo on Blue Sky, and they say, "What is one quotes flawed game you love despite its flaws?" Um, and the one that instantly jumped to my mind is probably The Last of Us Part Two, just because like,
Whoa.
and that's
What flaws?
controversial because I think there are some. I don't think I have problems necessarily with it, but I can see like the where it's mainly just like the fact that you play as spoiler alert if you haven't played part two, where you play as Ellie first and then play as Abby second, and then you play as Ellie again. Um, like some people see that as a flaw, and like I can see why it would be a flaw, but I love it in spite of that. And like, sure, it doesn't like it's not optimal in some ways, but in other ways it perfectly works, and I think it's incredible. So that's the first thing
Do
that's come
you
to my
think it's
mind.
a flaw though?
That's the
Don't
thing I
care about
don't
what
think
other
it is.
people think.
Yeah, so
Do you
I
have
don't
flaws
think it
with it?
is. No. So maybe come back to me because maybe there's another game that better fits this question.
Lauren, do you have an answer?
I do. It's a little game called A Dog's Life.
Let's go.
It's not the
Here we
world's best
go.
game,
Oh, God.
but I love it. It's a game where it was PS2 era. I think it was made by some guys in a garage. Good for them. And you play as a dog. It's a dog's life. You get to run around, dig holes, sniff smells, chase other dogs. It's amazing. It's awful, but amazing.
I think my answer is I don't know how controversial it is to say this, but Mod Nation Racers, I've talked about this game many times, little known PS3 kart racer, that the loading times absolutely sucked. The online support was brutal. They abandoned it very quickly. but I absolutely adored it. It was not Mario Kart, but God, just the idea of being able to like build characters and tracks and cars and share them online and then race your friends online was just so cool. But it was so like it just technically did not hold up. The other one is SSX Tricky, which or not Tricky. Tricky's the one people like. SSX on Tour. That was my first SSX game, and that came after Tricky, which was beloved and got 10 out of 10s, and people were like, "This is one of the best franchises ever." And then SSX 3, which people were like, even better than Tricky. Oh my gosh, they cannot be stopped. And then On Tour came out and they made it way more like punk rock and got rid of a lot of the style from the first ones. And people hated it. And I can see why people hated it. I can't even play those other SSX games. I've tried in the years since. Just On Tour was my game. And so I think, yeah, those are my two answers.
Yeah, those are pretty good answers. I've had some time to think. Still, like, I don't know. I feel like I'm cheating still with my answers a little bit, but um, the one game that's coming to my mind is Bionicle the game.
Yeah, okay,
Like,
that's a good answer.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love that game, but it's stupid because like each level you play as a different hero or Toa. But like each Toa has a different gameplay style. So the first one is like a third person action like thing, and then the second level is a skiing level, and then you're back to third person, and then it's just completely like, why don't we just pick one gameplay style and stick to what was good? Like, and I wish I'd like as a kid I'd wish that they just make it like the first level and stick to that format, but they don't do that for the game. But I love Bionicle, so I was like, yeah, it's fine. So yeah, that's my answer, I guess.
Yeah, get the Last of Us Part 2 slander out of here,
So
Tom Drew.
I still
Jeez
love the
Louise.
game. What do you mean? I love it.
That's the point.
Yeah. I mean...
Okay, Lauren, you're the next question.
All right. Next question from Ballistic Snack on Blue Sky asks, "What is the best gaming controller of all time, and why?" Anybody have one straight off the bat?
It's funny because we were talking about this, Klein and I, just before we started recording.
Right before the
of,
podcast
like, some
started.
good controllers. And it probably is the one we were talking about. I do really like the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. I just think it like feels really good in my hands. Like it, as much flack as the Wii U got, I think the Wii U Pro controller was really good, and I think the Switch controller like iterated on that and improved on it a lot. And it just feels really comfortable. And the fact that like the battery life is insane. Like my DualSense is constantly running out of battery. But with the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, like I can leave it without charge for ages, and it just keeps going and going and going. So I love that thing. I think it's so good.
Maybe it's nostalgia goggles, but I'm gonna say the GameCube controller. I think that controller is perfect with its weird jelly bean little buttons, and I love the analog triggers on it and the control stick. Something a lot of controllers don't do is the analog stick on the GameCube controller is inside of a hexagon. So you know exactly where you're hitting directionally when you use the stick. And I just really like it. Any chance I can get to use a GameCube controller, like playing Smash Bros, there's only one way to play Smash Bros, and it's with a GameCube controller. I also do really like the DualSense. I think it's great. Like I think they've perfected what the PlayStation controller could be with that.
Yeah, mine was going to be the DualSense. I think just because it's cool that the controller works to immerse you in the game. Like I don't know any others. I mean, it seemed like a gimmick at first, and then I saw it in action in things like Astro's Playroom and Astrobot. And not every game's taken advantage of it, but when they do, it is really cool to be like, oh, I can feel when I just got shot, or I can tell when I'm like pulling a bow back in and shooting my arrow. Like I think it's really cool to have that integrated in your controller to really immerse you.
Anything else? No Wiimote shoutouts?
It is the Wii remote is fun. I mean, the other flawed game I was going to mention is Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz. And you use the Wii remote for that especially when you're swinging in the golf mini game. And sometimes the motion control just doesn't work. But you know what? That's part of the fun, I think. Even when you're playing the Wii and like the motion control is not like optimal, I think it still leads to like some hilarious moments when you're playing with friends. And like the Wii Motion Plus, when they added that, I thought like was pretty good. I mean, I know Klein, you played Skyward Sword on the Switch, but like when Skyward Sword came out on the Wii and you played it on Motion Plus, like it did feel substantially like different and like felt really cool, and you got this like power fantasy when you played as Link. So I like the Wii remote. I think it's fun.
Okay, next question comes from Pack Attack on Blue Sky. After Grand Theft Auto 6 and Hollow Knight Silksong, what do you think will be the next unicorn game? The game we hear about for years and years before it is eventually released.
But the one that came to my mind instantly was Cyberpunk 2, because I feel like
Oh, that's a good one. That's really
yeah,
good.
Mm.
because Cyberpunk was that game for a long time for many people. And then like it came out and wasn't a great launch, and then it kind of had a resurgence, which is great. But I think Cyberpunk 2 is going to be the next one. Obviously, people are waiting for Witcher 4. We hear these trickles of Cyberpunk, and I think it's going to be a very long time before we actually see what that game actually is. But yeah, I just had that feeling it's going to be one of those.
I think
where we're
Witcher
waiting for
4
a long
might be a
time.
decent answer to this question as well.
Yeah,
Even
it
though
can
it's
be.
already been announced. Like, I have a feeling that game is years and years and years away.
Yeah,
definitely.
I thought Witcher 4 as well. Like, I'm like, why have you announced this when it was like they hadn't even, I don't think they'd even started development yet. They just said that it was happening. I
It
was
was
like,
like
this is,
within like 10 days of the trailer coming out that they announced it was in
yeah,
development.
yeah. But my other one is Elder Scrolls 6. I think that's going to be years away.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good
My
one.
answer was going to be Fallout 5. I bet you very quickly we hear
Oh.
about that game soon, and it will be 2040 by the time that game comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe even Last of Us 3.
That's another one.
Because
For sure.
we've already debated the rumors on the show about whether it's actually happening or not. And obviously they have publicly said Intergalactic is the next thing, but there's the rumors that it's
Could
happening in the
Intergalactic be
background.
one of those?
I don't think so.
Nah,
Personally not.
I think we'll see that not soon, but like sooner than a lot of these other games.
Because it's already been in development for years.
Yeah.
Okay. The other one I would say is the third Final Fantasy remake.
Oh yeah.
I don't, because the
That's a big
second one did not hit sales wise, and I think that they were maybe trying to get that third one out a little faster. But now that, I don't know, I can see a world where they kind of take it back almost to the drawing board and just take forever for it to come out. Also, Half-Life 3. The rumors are still out there that's happening. It's gonna come.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom, do you want to take the next question?
Yeah, I think we skipped over a question here.
We did, yeah, you can do that one.
So yeah, I'll say this one from at Lloydav on Blue Sky. They say, "What's a game that everyone has played except for you?" That is a great question. I don't want to defer to another Bionicle game, because that would kind of be cheating, I think. But I do also want to say Bionicle Heroes on the PS2, which is another Bionicle game, which I think is actually genuinely good, where you played as Bionicles, but it was like a first-person shooter kind of thing. It was only a campaign, so there was no like multiplayer or anything. But I don't think you guys have played that game.
Isn't this a
It
game
has to
that
go.
everyone's played except for you?
I
Yeah.
read the question wrong.
So that's the game you played that no one else has.
Yeah. So we
Right,
can answer
right.
that too. We can answer that too.
Sure.
Yeah, everyone has played except for me. Come back to me. I'm frazzled,
Okay.
guys. It's been a long day.
I've got so many of these. I feel like it's like when people are like, wow, have you seen this movie? How have you not seen this movie? I have so many of those games. GTA 5, Fallout, New Vegas 4, whichever one, Skyrim I haven't played. Those are probably the major ones. But there's so many I haven't played.
I think that I've done like a decent job, especially in recent years, of trying to like fill in some of my blind spots. But there are still a few, and I think the biggest ones would be like, I've never played a Jack game on the PlayStation 2. I didn't have a PlayStation 2. I've never played one of the OG Ratchet and Clank games. That's another one that like because I didn't have a PS2. And then maybe not for like us here on the podcast, but this is a big one for a lot of people. I've never played a Half-Life game, and those are considered some of the biggest and best ever. So yeah, Gears of War is another franchise that I don't have. Like I haven't done those.
Okay.
Yeah, I think those are my big ones.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap between me and a lot of those games you guys have said too. Yeah, I'd say probably Red Dead 2 is the big one that I haven't touched, and I have that game. BioShock Infinite is another big one. I played the first BioShock, but
Really?
like, yeah, I've
BioShock
never
Infinite.
played. Yeah, I have it. haven't played it. The Metal Gear games, other than 5, obviously, like everyone
Yeah,
raves
that's
about.
another one for me.
Like
Yeah,
those,
same.
I just haven't played. Yeah, trying to think of anything else. I think those are the big ones. I think I'm trying to think of Nintendo games that I haven't touched, but I've mostly touched like all the big franchises. I guess Paper Mario is like a big one. Like Thousand Year Door, is a big game Nintendo wise that I just never got around to. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Next question, Lauren, your turn.
All right, this comes from Steve D on Blue Sky. What's a game you wanted as a kid but never had? Phil Klein, you might
Ooh.
have just said a few of them.
Yeah.
These are games I've played. The games that I've wanted. I remember Sleepover Time, high school era, middle school era. Halo 3 was that game. I didn't have an Xbox 360. I had friends who had Xbox 360s, and going over there and playing these crazy multiplayer matches and going to these like Forge maps where people made their own levels and made their own like weird challenges, like playing soccer with cars and doing all this crazy stuff. I thought that was the coolest. And I also at the time only had a Nintendo Wii, didn't have a PS3 yet. And so I was like, you can actually play online with people, you can talk to them, they'll say terrible things to you, but that's fun. And so yeah, I think Halo 3 was a huge one for me. For a long time it was Call of Duty as well, shortly after that. But then I got a PS3 and rectified that very quickly. But yeah. Halo 3, big deal.
Yeah.
Tom.
Yeah, for me, it is kind of a lot of games that I would play like other people's houses, but I always wanted for myself. So the biggest one I think was Star Wars Battlefront 2. I just remember
Yeah, that
playing
was
it,
another one.
yeah, so many people's houses, and I wanted it for my own copy so I could play the campaign, but I just I guess I could never convince my parents to get it for me. Another one was Simpsons Hit and Run. I loved playing that around people's houses, but again, like I never got it for myself. GTA, all the GTA games, like some to you, Klein, like I had a Wii, and like all my friends had PlayStations, so I was locked out of like playing a GTA game for the longest time, and I still have like I've played GTA 5, but not like properly, and I don't own it. So I think yeah, those are the big ones that I was like the pie in the sky games that were so elusive for me as a kid.
I was pretty lucky growing up. Like I was like the kid who always had all the games with the PlayStation, and I had people over and we'd play, iToy or Wii or whatever it was. But the one thing I didn't have was a Nintendo DS, and I knew that a lot of my friends had Nintendogs. I was like, this is so cool because I always wanted a dog. Like our family never got a pet after our first dog, or my first dog when I was a kid died, and I was like, oh, I could like have wish fulfillment by having a Nintendo, but I didn't have the console, so that was probably the one that I wanted the most.
Now's the time, Lauren. You can invest. Get a DS. Get some Nintendogs.
Yeah,
Will we ever see Nintendogs again?
I'm surprised
Surely.
surprised that's not come back
I
because
know.
there wasn't a Switch one, right? I'm pretty sure,
Well, I think
which
it
is
was just a
crazy.
DS game. I don't think there was even a Wii. There might have been a Wii game, but Wii U, no, definitely not.
Yeah, I think if
Let me
they
tell you,
brought it
when
back, it would do well.
when Animal Crossing introduces pets, it's all over.
Yeah, aren't the
Mhm.
villagers are animals? How does that work
Yeah,
in this
that
Animal
would be
Crossing society? Why do some of them get to be citizens and the other have to be like slaves to Lauren Rouse?
well.
They'll figure it out.
It's like with Goofy and Pluto both exist. Like
Yeah,
they're both
I know,
dogs.
and I think about
So
that a lot.
so we're
Why
getting
does Goofy have rights and Pluto doesn't? Okay, next up, this comes from Joseph Lynch over on Twitter. He says, thoughts on a Battlefront 3, and then also asks thoughts on the Avatar Pandora game from 2 years ago. Start with Battlefront 3. I'd love a Battlefront 3. I would love
Mm.
a Battlefront 3. There was rumors, I guess before DICE did their Battlefront trilogy, there was that Battlefront 3 game from the original team that was like basically done, and then the Lucasfilm deal happened and it fell apart. But like in that game, you could be on the ground and like get in a ship and fly up into space and then continue the battle up in space and like get on space stations and battle there too. Like that sounds incredible. We never got that fully like realized in the DICE games, but I think that Battlefront 2 by DICE was a great game by the time it was done, and I'd happily take more.
I
yeah.
loved the first Dice Battlefront game. I know that's controversial, but I spent so many hours in that game. So I think whatever I hope that there's a Battlefront 3 that happens. I'm sure it will, by someone. And I think whatever that is has the chance to really like build on whatever all the previous games and bring like what you were saying, kind of like the aerial to ground sort of combat, and even build on like what's recently happened in the Star Wars movies and universe, and try and bring in some of those cool locations and new lightsabers and characters to play. I think they're probably maybe waiting a little bit to give some more of that, some room for that stuff to build in the background, but I think it'll happen.
Give the Titanfall team Battlefront 3. If it's got to stay at EA, make that happen.
That would be incredible. Yeah, like I mentioned, like I loved Battlefront 2 as a kid, and I did really like Battlefront 2 on PS4. Even though it had like a very troubled launch, I came to it much later after it like settled a bit, and they had like updates and stuff. And I think it's solid. Like I think it's a solid game. There was a lot of things I would change about it, but like the foundations I could see were there. And then like you guys have said, like if they had done like the ground to aerial to space stuff, like I think it would have been amazing. But yeah, it's just I don't know if we'll ever see this thing happen. But like if it does happen, that like Respawn would do an amazing job, I'm sure.
I know, like as of today, May the 4th, so Star Wars Day, we're recording here. I know there's like still people who are hopping into like Battlefront 2 and celebrating Star Wars Day by playing that game. And as I said before, Battlefront 2, by the time it was done, if you haven't played that game, you can get it for, I think I bought it almost 4 years ago now for like $2. And that package that they have now with everything assembled in that, it's like the ultimate Star Wars shooter. It is just so good, and there's so much to do in it. So shout out that game. Tom, this next question is for you. Go ahead.
Oh, oh, jeez. This is the first time I'm seeing this. Okay. This comes from at Dave T on Twitter.
Not David Thompson. A different Dave T.
Okay. Or maybe it's David Thompson on a burner account.
Oh,
we don't know.
Yeah.
Probably. That sounds like the box office for sure.
They say if you could eat any animal at the zoo, what would you want to try? Wow.
What is this?
A crazy question. I don't know how. Like, are we just throwing all ethics and morals out the door? Like,
yeah, you have to.
I think you have to. Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, they're already in the zoo, so it's already out the window.
Yeah. Think.
Lauren, being Australian, have you eaten kangaroo? Like, is that something that you can?
I mean, they do that, right?
Say you've done?
Yeah.
Is it good?
They farm them like cows. Yeah.
Okay.
You can eat kangaroo.
I don't know if that's an acceptable answer, but
I can take you to a place in Vancouver where you can get it.
Okay.
If you want to try it, I guess you can make that. I guess it's there in the zoo here. I don't know. I hate this question. I'm sorry, Dave T, but I will never do it. But I'm kind of curious what seals taste like.
Oh, okay.
This might be interesting.
Don't tell Tofino, but sure, yeah.
Tofino's not a seal. I don't know.
I know, but they're friends. They hang out. The otters, the seals.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just like, there's such interesting consistency,
Yeah. For Lauren, you and I, similar minds for a very similar reason. Hippo? I don't know.
Okay.
You're right. They're big, they're fatty. Like, I think that it might be delicious.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm gonna go with a wildcard answer. I'm gonna say like a chameleon. But just like the full thing is like deep fried on a stick. Like a kebab. A chameleon kebab.
God.
Yeah, I want to see what that's
with the weird eyes and everything, just like looking around.
Still bugging around.
I would have preferred if this was like, which Pokemon would you eat, which is
do we want to answer that too?
It's Bulbasaur. 100%. You get fruit, you get veggies and meat. Even though I love him, he's got a little onion on his back, and you get the whole meal.
Bloody hell! Okay, I was gonna say, Slowpoke because they go on in the games about Slowpoke tails tasting delicious. Like Team Rocket, like kidnaps a bunch of Slowpokes at one point and cuts off all their tails because they're apparently really delectable. So I want to taste a Slowpoke tail. That's my answer.
I never understood the whole like Pokemon world and food, because like you feed your Pokemon food that is sometimes meat,
Yeah.
What is that meat?
That
Are
is a
you
good
feeding the
Non
Pokemon
Pokemon,
other?
cows and things.
No, because there's cow Pokemon. Like I don't think there's just
Yeah, and
animals in the
they're.
Pokemon world.
I thought they were normal animals too.
I don't think so.
Nah, I don't think
Okay.
there are.
I don't know. Isn't there a Pokemon that's like an actual ice cream or something?
There is.
Oh yeah, Vanillux. Yeah, okay, that's a
But
good
it's
one.
got a face. So you've got to lick this ice cream while it's
Uh,
looking at you screaming that you're
Or it's
Okay.
eating
or
its
it's enjoying
body.
it. Or it's
Right, or
enjoying it.
Oh,
probably like a
does-
Magikarp then.
Does the ice cream Pokemon derive pleasure from being eaten?
Jesus.
That is what we need to find out.
We'll never know. We
So
will
next
never know.
question.
Great. Yep.
All right, this one comes from Pierre Chanlao on Twitter, who is also from the Direct. So hey, Pierre. What are your feelings about the Switch 2's pricing from the game's controls and system itself? Nintendo doesn't seem to be budging on them despite pushback from fans.
Yeah, I mean, my perspective on this is like, the thing is, there's pushback from fans. They're not going to listen to the fans, unfortunately. Like, as much people in live stream say, drop the price, and also the meme people go, raise the price in the same chat rooms. I don't think they're going to change their minds. My perspective has changed a little bit in that, like, I still feel like the Switch 2 is fairly okayly priced. I still think the games are rough. But at the same time as well, we didn't talk about, because we haven't done news in a while, but like Xbox raised a ton of their prices just this past week, I think.
$729 for a Series X.
Which is rough, and it almost makes the Switch 2 look like a deal, you know? So the fact that other console makers, and we've seen with Sony as well, like they've raised the PlayStation 5's prices incrementally over the past couple of years, and I'm sure like they're probably going to do it again, honestly. So I do feel like I to me at least, and I could eat my words, I feel like the Switch feels like it would hold its price. I feel like Nintendo's not that kind of company where they would do that with the console within its lifespan. I could be wrong. But yeah, I mean, it sucks. Everything's more expensive at this point. Even the stuff that you thought would become cheaper is now
Yeah.
suddenly going up in price. Yeah, it just sucks all around, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I saw a thing from my friend David Smith, who's been on the show. I think he said something like, is this the first time where people who actually bought a console at launch got it at a better price than if you had waited
Yeah.
years to get it? We're not in that era anymore where it's like, oh, you wait and things get cheaper. They only get more expensive, which is insane. And we had a conversation probably late last year about when the PS5 Pro came out. We're like, wow, that price is insane. Do we think the PS6 is going to be like this? Yes. It is the way
Have
things
you
are
listened
going.
to that clip recently, Lauren?
I don't think so.
So do you know the price that we said that like we think that the PS6 is going to cost? It made me laugh.
What did we say?
Oh.
$600
US, right?
US. The Xbox Series X just got bumped up to $729 US.
Yeah.
I think we're looking at like a $750, maybe $800 in the current financial situation. That's rough. That's going to price out a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. I think for Xbox, it was a strange move, but we've been talking about their strategy for ages. I don't think they're in the console game anymore. I think you can, anything's an Xbox now, right? So really, I think it's the diehards who are like, oh, I want the graphical power or the fidelity or something that an Xbox box can give versus I'm just going to play this on my TV or whatever is built on. Xbox has built-in Game Pass now. But as for the Switch, I think they were just a precursor of things to come. They're definitely not changing the price. I wish that the price of games wasn't also going up. That's been, I think, where it really hurts. Is like, oh, I'm willing to like fork out on a console as a one-off, but to always have to constantly be playing like over $100 for games really hurts. And I know it's a sign of the times, but I just can't see a world in which it ever goes down, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's the scary part is right now it is this, everything is just getting so much tighter and prices are going up because of it. But when will they ever go down? Remember when things during the pandemic, it was like, oh, price of everything's going up. Oh, it'll just be temporary. Don't worry. Here we are 5 years later and like it's still ridiculous buying cheese at the grocery store. So I'm like, the Switch stuff, I'm kind of okay with. I think the Switch 2, looking at the hardware, looking at how much it costs, I mean, I have a pre-order, so take whatever I say with a grain of salt because I obviously was willing to pay it. But I think it's okay. The games that does really hurt me, and ultimately, I think what's going to happen is this is going to change how people game entirely. I think that the console manufacturers have kind of seen this, and maybe not saturation point, but pretty close to, with consoles, where the PS4, Xbox One generation was the biggest ever, and they saw this big boom. But I think that was kind of a peak. And so now they are just like, we're not going to get new people on board. So let's juice as much as we can of the people we do have already on board, which is like a really shitty way to look at it, but it's the way that it is. And what will happen is you have these people playing games that they've played for, I guess, almost close to 10 years now, these games as a service, these free to play titles. And when the next generation happens, when the PS6 drops and the Xbox 2 or whatever they call it drops, um, I think a lot of people are going to stay behind. I don't know if there will be a huge jump onto that, to get onto that next generation of hardware, because they're gonna be like, it's more expensive. I can play Fortnite here. There's some crazy number I was reading recently where it's like more than 20% of games being played on consoles right now have been released. I think it was like greater than 2.5 years prior to the date that they took the data. So it's all these like everlasting gobstopper games that just go on forever. And it's really like the gaming world is going to turn into like more of a hobbyist thing as opposed to something that everyone can jump into, because it's just gonna people are gonna get priced out.
Yeah. I think the thing with like you saying about like a lot of people staying behind, like I think I'm in that camp. Like I don't think I'll get like a PS6 at launch at this point, just because like I don't know, and obviously can't foresee what they bring to the PS6. But in terms of, like a fidelity standpoint, like I can already play games that look incredible and like run incredible on my PS5 at this point. Like I'm getting a Switch 2 because the Switch like can't run a lot of these games and is like kind of being held back by that. But I think a lot of games aren't necessarily doing the same thing on PS5. Like I feel like you can get that like really high fidelity, high performance stuff on PS5 at the moment still. I'm sure that will still be the case like around the time of when the PS6 comes out. So yeah, I just don't know. I don't know what the long term like hope like or goal is at this point. Yeah, it just sucks. Like I said, it's just tough, man.
Okay. Next question. This one comes from Gabberscant, my wonderful spouse, on Instagram. If you could only play one game for the rest of your gaming days, what would it be?
I think this is short sighted of me, and like I could eat
Bionicle
these words.
Heroes.
Yeah, it is Bionicle Heroes, game I've mentioned many times. No, I think it's Marvel Rivals, just
Mm.
because.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm surprised I'm saying that, but to me, it is that like everlasting gobstopper of like I just come back to it and I have so much fun with it. It like I've said it like a couple times on the show, like it really rekindled that like Overwatch feeling. I love this like. Although I do get a little bit toxic sometimes, I can't deny that. But this competitive angle of like trying to get better at the game, getting as many kills as possible and getting these like kill streaks, and just supporting your team as best as you can, and it just feels so good. And like in an ideal world, if this was the case, like the game would be updated consistently. But just seeing the new characters and just the way they bring them into the game and how it shakes up the formula, I think they've just done such an amazing job. Like they brought Emma Frost to the game, and like she's my main now. Like she's such a cool play style of a character. I think she shakes up the formula, and I'm sure Ultron's going to do the same thing when they bring him in. So yeah, I think it is Marvel Rivals for me at the moment, which is kind of insane.
Lauren?
I think I'm gonna be strategic and say something like probably some sort of life simulator, like The Sims, just because there are like you can play infinite different ways and never be bored, and that's my main thing. Like, I think I could say something Like there's certainly games that I can replay and never get bored of, like, The Last of Us or Sly Cooper or something like that. But I think there comes a point where if this is all I'm playing forever, I am going to get sick of it. And I don't want that. So I think with something like The Sims, you can just, if you get sick of something, reset, start again, infinite different possibilities.
Yeah, I was wondering how to take this. Like, do I go like a live service game that's just like I'm gonna have stuff to do forever? Do I was thinking, Lauren, when you said Sims, I was like, do I do something like Sim City or City Skylines I really like? I honestly think if I could play one game, the thing I love most in games is that like dopamine hit when you find a new thing or level up. And I think I'm gonna do something like Diablo 4 maybe. Just because I love that game. To me, I could play that game forever. I honestly, when I read this question the first time, I said World of Warcraft. I've never touched World of Warcraft in my life, but I know that like the reason I haven't is because if I did, it would be all I played. So because it's just like everlasting Diablo in a lot of ways. So I think that I'll say Diablo 4 because that's a game I've actually played.
Yeah.
Tom, this one's from your good friend. Go ahead.
Yeah, this comes from Pam Goras on Instagram. Pam, friend of the show, also works at the Direct. And her question is, when is the SpongeBob SquarePants game tier list coming? I don't know. When is it coming? Are we doing it right now?
Yeah, it's Pam, whenever you want to come on the show.
Yeah, exactly, Pam.
Yeah.
You come and tell us when it's happening.
Call your shot.
What? So, just as a quick like litmus test, how many SpongeBob games have you guys played, do you think?
Exactly 0.
Okay.
I can say confidently 2.
Okay. I could...
Battle for Bikini Bottom, SpongeBob movie.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can unconfidently say 1.5 because I think I've played Battle of Bikini Bottom. And I've also played... Yeah, it is. Well, save for the tier list, but I've also played like this SpongeBob DS game. I can't remember what it was called though. I was trying to
I've definitely played a couple different versions of SpongeBob the movie, the game as well. Like I've played the GBA game and I've played the GameCube game. And so they're two different games.
Yeah, they could be separate entries, I suppose. So that'll be interesting for the tier list if we get around.
I don't know if we have enough knowledge to do the SpongeBob gaming tier list, to be honest.
Well, that's why Pam will bring it. She will bring the knowledge. So
true.
We'll talk to you off air.
Your answer, Pam? Call your shot. When do you want to do it? You let us know. Lauren, your next question.
All right. Next question from WedJGo on Instagram. What game would you want erased from your memory so you could experience it for the first time again? I know, mate, straight away. It's The Last of Us Part 2, which has already been brought up on this podcast.
Yeah. That was my...
Why Part 2 and not Part 1?
Because I remember so specifically how invested I was in Part 2 as it being like an unfolding story and not knowing anything about it. And I was just... Like, I played it in like 4 days. I've never played a game that quickly of that size. And it's because it just consumed my every waking moment. And I remember feeling so shocked when certain things happened and so scared. And now that I know those things are going to happen, it's never the same. So if I could just go back and experience it again, I think it would be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the one that instantly jumped to my mind. I think definitely...
It's a flawed game, Tom.
It is a flawed game, as I've mentioned. God. I'm not going to live that down. But I think the other one that really stands out to me is probably Final Fantasy VII Remake. That game just blew me away, like the characters and the story, and I'm so invested in everything surrounded FF7 now. So I would love to go play that because I just like that game really changed my whole perspective on RPGs and Final Fantasy as a franchise. So I'd probably say that one.
I think that for me, it'd probably be like, I think Tears of the Kingdom is a great answer because like that just not knowing the full extent and scale of that game until you actually dropped onto Hyrule for the first time and you're like, wait a second, like we'd seen the Sky Islands, but there's an underground as well. Absolutely broke my brain. I think the first Last of Us, just getting to experience that, like the Sarah moment for the first time, where not knowing that that's coming is just something that I was not emotionally prepared for. But the answer that like I'll plant my flag in, that is a very recent one, I think Astrobot. When I got that game for review, and was playing through those first few levels, I was crying because I was just like being brought to so much I had so much joy, and every level, like this is a modern masterpiece. I can't believe that I'm playing this right now. So yeah, I think Astrobot's like, I want more of that so bad. Let me feel like that again.
Yeah, it's crazy we haven't heard of like. I mean, I'm sure they're working on something, but like some kind of sequel announcement or something like that. But
It's probably
I hope
too
it
early, but I'm
probably.
sure they are as well.
Yeah. Next question, and I want to have a conversation about this. What do you call your controller club fans? This is from Alex on Blue Sky. I don't know.
Non-existent.
Non-existent? What do you mean? We don't have any. We have people listening right now, Lauren. We have people.
It was a joke.
All the questions.
We love our
had.
fans.
Ew.
We love our fans. It's time
I
to name
know,
you
just-
all three of you.
Yeah,
Well,
I know.
the thing is, I think we would need to clarify, but maybe it's also like a double kind of meaning thing. Controller club has many different meanings potentially, because it could be a club like an
are you a
after-school
member of the
club.
controller club?
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. Or is it
Right.
like, are we in the club? Like, are we in a club?
So
Because
we're
if that's
fam.
yeah, yeah, we fam.
We all fam.
But then, because then it's like, are they the clubbers? Because clubbers go
Oh.
to
The
a club.
clubbers. I don't know about that.
Yeah,
We're going
because
back to
that.
Lauren's
so-
baby seal with that one.
Oh god.
Jeez.
Yeah.
We
The
can't
only
do
thing I can
control
think of-
ease because that's like
That's
our
the award
awards.
show.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Control freaks.
Ooh,
Mm,
negative
but that-
connotations.
yeah,
It's
I
okay.
think that's.
You know.
Yeah, we don't want to call them freaks. I mean, I'm sure there's some freaks listening.
The
but you're not
CCs.
one of them. The person listening to this. The CCs.
It's a brand of chip in Australia.
Interesting.
We should
Tough
have a
one.
think on it.
What do you want to be called, fans? Let us know.
Yeah.
I like that. Put it up to the audience. Let us know. That's our question for the week. What do you want to be known as? What are controller club fans called? Because we need to have a
Yeah.
cool name.
Yeah.
Clubbers, control freaks, CCs, something. You got something.
Yeah.
You guys are way more creative than we are. Okay. The very last question. Tom Drew, episode 150. Here you go.
Yeah, this comes from another friend of the show, Chantel Santos, on Instagram. And she says, if you could be any video game character, who would you be? This could go a lot of different ways.
Like in our real life? Or like you'd have to go and be them in their game life?
They coming into the real world. I like.
That's a good question, yeah. I don't know.
Let's say they're
Cooking
coming
Mama.
into the real world.
Okay, that changes things a little bit then.
Cooking Mama. I love
Cooking
it.
Mama.
Just want to have good meals.
I would, yeah, you know, she knows
That's
how to
good.
do it. She knows how to cook.
Ooh. What
I mean,
could really-
typically I would say like Ellie, but I think I'm already enough like Ellie that I don't need. That's a waste of it.
Hey, you should
choice,
see
you
Lauren
know?
with a blade. It's scary.
Let me tell you, man. There's some scenes with Bella Ramsey lately that I'm like, it's like a mirror.
I don't know,
Maybe,
Lauren. I don't know
like-
if that's a good thing. I think maybe you should have some conversations with someone about that.
I think maybe like if I could have the powers that these characters have in real life, it would be really cool. So either like Cordo or Emily from Dishonored, because they have that cool blink
Ooh.
power.
Mhm.
Like, just they have so many cool powers from the outsider that I think I would really like love to utilize in daily life, particularly blink. Got the one where you can like turn into a rat. Plenty of rats around Vancouver for me to do that. There's like the slow-mo one that would be fun. So I like the breadth of options that being one of those characters gives me.
If it was going into the game world and being a character, a Pokemon trainer. I want to live in a world of Pokemon.
Mm. Yeah.
Yep. Or like an Animal Crossing, so I can own a house
Yeah.
The only way.
That's
or an
true.
island. Actually, it's a whole island.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is tough, man. I mean, I think if I was going into a world, Pokemon would be one. I think I said I just mentioned FF7 remake, but I think being Cloud in that world would just be so
Mhm.
sick.
You'd be so pretty.
Yeah, exactly. Get
Big
together at
sword.
Honeybee Inn, going to pretty dressed, like it's cool. Who do I want to be in the real world? What's really going to benefit me? Why does the first thing coming to my mind Kirby? Because what
Yeah,
realistically,
why not?
what
Because he has infinite power. That's why.
Yeah.
he is one of the most powerful beings in games, to be honest. So, and he gets to eat a lot. That sounds fun.
Mhm.
I'll just say Kirby. Why not?
Man, a
Nice.
few words. All you do is just like suck
Yeah.
and go. Oh, what's he say?
He goes,
Hi.
"Hi."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's all you need.
Okay, that's our Q&A for episode 150. That's basically going to do it for this week's episode. You can follow the show. You can leave us questions each and every week over on Instagram at Controller Club Pod, Blue Sky as well there, at Controller_Club on Twitter, and at Controller.Club on TikTok. We have a new TikTok over there, so give it some likes. We're doing weekly Last of Us reviews, trying to pull some clips from the show and put it up over on TikTok as well. Also, if you're listening to the show, please go check us out on YouTube. We are now on YouTube. Subscribe over there. Leave us a comment. Hit the like button. Hit the bell. Do all the things. Any bit of interaction really helps out the show. And yes, rate and review us if you are listening on Spotify. 5 stars. It helps out as well. And as I said earlier, if you want to say hi to us, PR, review list, news, anything, our email address is controllerclubpod@gmail.com. Tom Drew, where can people find you? Do you have any closing words here? Episode 150. It's over.
Yeah, well, a quick just shout out comment corner quickly because someone did leave a lovely comment on our Minecraft movie review of all things. So thank you so much. This comes from @DynastyFK, and they say you guys are amazing. I can't believe you guys only have 120 subs. Correction, 122 subs now as a time recording.
Nice.
But no, thank you so much. And they say please keep going, heart. So thank you so much @DynastyFK. But yeah, as for me, again, thank you to everyone that listens. Like it really means a lot if you take the time out of your day just to like, listen to us yap basically about games and all sorts of random stuff, or whether who you want to see in the next PlayStation All Stars 2, which may or may not happen. Like things like that, and it just means a lot. If you listen to the show. As for me, you can find me at Tom Gerard, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter. Again, haven't really posted that much recently. But if there are any updates, you'll find them there, basically.
Lauren, where can people keep up with you, and what do you've got going on?
Yeah, well, just to echo Tom, thank you again to everyone who's submitted questions, who has been listening to us for 150 episodes, whether it's been one episode or 150. We've loved having you. And yeah, we don't do this for the fame or the money. So it's really nice to just have some interaction with our community, whatever you end up being called. So yeah, that's been a great time to celebrate all of that on this episode. But yeah, if this is you've just dropped in and you don't know who I am, I'm a freelance journalist right now at lrouse19 is where I post my work. Writing with these guys on the Direct, doing some stuff with Letterboxd, new outlet here that I'm working with called Peloplat in Vancouver. Been writing some stuff for them, and plenty of other places that I'll post about on my socials.
Excellent. You can keep up with me everywhere. I'm at The Kleinfeld, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter. And yeah, I'll just echo what Lauren and Tom said. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with us. 150 episodes in. I can't wait to do 150 more. This is the joy of my week, getting to do this each and every week and hanging out with my best friends while doing it. So thank you, Tom. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching at home. That's going to wrap up episode 150 of Controller Club. As always, thank you so much for watching. Now, let's get gaming.